Hey guys, welcome back. We are back here with this Talas album review series, which is going to be kind of a short-lived one. Of course, we took a look at their first self-titled album, came out in 1979 last time, but this time we are on to their first record of the 80s. We're talking about 1982's Sink Your Teeth Into That. Always thought this was a really cool album cover, really kind of neat. But this album, first off, I'll go ahead and throw it out there. This is a heavier one for one, in the production, got a little bit better. You can hear Billy's bass going on quite a bit more in this one, so that's always a plus. Not that you couldn't hear it in the first record, but here it's like, they jammed it up and he's really gonna go off. Billy Sheehan's really gonna be going off on the bass on this record. So let's kick this thing off. We're talking about the title track right off the bat that kicks off side one, Sink Your Teeth Into That. Such a cool song. Really, you hear that heaviness right off the bat. The new kind of improved sound. Again, this is a couple years. I mean, this is in the early 80s as opposed to late 70s, which, of course, there was heavy stuff going on at that point. But, there had been some advancements in production and stuff. So things are going to sound a little bit heavier. And again, I think that Billy's bass tone on this really helps that heaviness as well, and that being kind of cranked up in the mix. But Sink Your Teeth Into That is a really awesome song that really shows off right off the bat what these guys are about and what they're going to continue to be about, So, or really this is, the continuation. So this is showing what they're continuing to be about, right? I would say continue to be about, but their final album came out so many years later. Then we get into one of my favorites off here. We're talking about Hit and Run, and this is a solid record or solid song here, really hooky. You'll find this, I think, with a good chunk of tracks off here that it's like, how is this not a radio hit, right? Like, Hit and Run is so hooky. The vocal work is incredible on here, and I just think this is such a fun track where it's got a good groove to it. I mean, it just surprises me that this wasn't more of a hit. Really, these guys in general. It surprised me that they weren't more of a hit. Then we go with one of my favorite pieces, instrumental pieces of all time. We're talking about NV4 3345. And looking at it, you flip it upside down. It's not just a random numbers and letters. It says Sheehan upside down because it's a bass solo from Billy Sheehan. Just phenomenal piece. I'll never forget my uncle showing me that track for the first time, and I was blown away. I'm like, that's on. How is any human doing this on bass, right? And people really weren't doing a lot of the things Billy was doing on bass at the time, nor, even still to this day, he's still, again, he's my favorite bass player of all time. And his technique's incredible. Just, he has such his own, his unique style of playing and everything. And it's just, everything's demonstrated on here. The cool, just the groove of this thing and just kind of climbing the ladder on this track. And then you get, later on, it sounds like a freaking propeller, playing. He's going so fast and plucking so fast. So NV4 3345, one of my favorite tracks off here, one of my favorite instrumental pieces of music, period. Fun fact, I was in like a music appreciation class in college years ago, and I even wrote a paper on this one and, got to show the class, demonstrate, an instrumental piece, and this is the one I chose. So one of my favorites off here for sure. Then we go with kind of a higher, high speed one, really, because that's what the song's called, High Speed on Ice. And it is kind of a faster paced track, another kind of heavy hitter here. One that I really like as well. That, again, just kind of demonstrates the heavier side that these guys are going, as opposed to their prior record, which was hard rock. Of course, I wouldn't call this necessarily a heavy metal record, kind of a hard rock record. Same as their first one. But this one just has a little bit more of that oomph to it, and especially with the speedy kind of track like High Speed on Ice here, which is a really solid one. Then we close out side one with Shy Boy, which of course famously was covered on David Lee Roth's Eat 'Em and Smile, which Billy Sheehan is of course played bass on. So they brought that song a new life on that. It's kind of hard for me to decide which one I like better. Which of the versions are similar. I love David Lee Roth's voice and everything, and you get Steve Vai on the cover version, but there is just that charm to this one, and Billy's going off on the bass again on this one, they're like about halfway through. He just goes nuts, like soloing and shredding on a bass like people were doing on guitar. So it's just phenomenal, phenomenal. Love Shy Boy, one of the best tracks off here, no doubt. Then we kick it on the side too, and things drop off a little here with King of the World. Not my favorite track off here. Probably, yeah, I would even say it's probably my least favorite off here. Not a bad song, just kind of, not up to the standard of, that jam-packed side one. And I do think, again, it's not one that I'm like, oh, this sucks or whatever. It's solid. It's just a little repetitive in the chorus department, and just not my favorite track. Then we go with Outside Looking In, and this one, also probably my second least favorite off here. It's another solid one, but just kind of, coming off that first side being just bam, 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 it's just firing off in all cylinders. The just King of the World and Outside Looking In don't quite, hit that level as anything off the first side. So those two are probably my least favorite tracks off here, but they're still solid nonetheless. Then we go with Never See Me Cry, which I forgot just how damn good this one was. It ends up being, one of my favorites off here. I love the groove on this one. The vocal work on here from, Paul Varga and everything on here is just incredible stuff. Dave Constantino shredding on guitar, just awesome stuff going on here. And this track really, this is one that, revisiting is not one that I remembered how good it was, because I'm used to, mainly I've always known and had those side one tracks just embedded in my mind as being just like top of the, food chain here. But Never See Me Cry, definitely up in that upper echelon of tracks for me, revisiting this. Then we go with Smart Lady, with the second last track off here. And it's solid. It kind of has some clever lyrics, and so in kind of some humorous lyrics and everything. And just kind of it's kind of a fun track. Not anything too great, I don't think. But I mean, I do like it better than those first two tracks off side two. So I'll give it that. But then we close it out with my favorite song off here, probably my favorite Talas song, period. We're talking about Hicktown. And this track, man, this is another one that I'm like, how is this not a radio hit? The vocal melodies and just everything about this track. Billy's, throwing on some harmonics on his bass on here, like in that opening intro, and just shredding up a storm. Then you get, just that, again, that I can't talk enough about that bass tone of Billy Sheehan, which is just remarkable. And it really drives this track. It's a really bass-driven track, and really could say that about a lot of these songs. Most of them, if not all of them, are really bass-driven, right? But this track in particular, one just I absolutely love. One of my favorite tracks that Billy's ever been a part of in any band he's ever been in. And I just, the vocal work on this one in particular, and those vocal melodies, the high range they get, and just such a hooky song that I'm surprised did not get a bunch of radio play and really make it big. Because, I mean, it is about the catchiest damn song. I'm telling you. Easily my favorite off here, no doubt about it. So, with that being said, though, guys, we're looking at just a hidden gem of an album, hidden gem of a band, right? And this one, I think, is a vast improvement from their first album, and just really ups, takes things to the next level. And this again, that side one is just jam packed with stuff. Then you got Never See Me Cry, Hicktown, just amazing stuff that it just blows my mind. A lot of this stuff didn't get radio play as much, and these guys didn't really take off. Of course, Billy would go on to join, David Lee Roth's band and everything, a couple of years after this and everything. So, yeah, everybody kind of went their separate paths or whatever. But, this just, if you listen to just one thing off here, well, two, if you don't want to listen to the whole album, which I highly suggest you should, but if you don't, listen to that instrumental, the NV4 3345, and listen to Hicktown, and you'll be like, how was that not a hit, man? It is just so freaking catchy. I'll get it stuck in my head. But just an amazing album. One of my favorite hard rock albums, out there, of possibly of all time. It's up there for me, just as far as that goes, and it's, a shame that not a lot of people really know about this band as much. I mean, I know they've got their fans out there, especially hardcore Billy Sheehan fans like myself. But, this just, I feel like a lot of this stuff could be really appreciated if people had heard more of them, they got more exposure or whatever. Because, again, an amazing, amazing gem of a record, and just one of my favorite albums of the year 1982, and one of my favorite hard rock albums of all time for sure. But anyways, guys, I want to see if you guys have heard anything off here, and talk about maybe your experiences with this album and Billy Sheehan and everything. And of course, next time we're going to fast forward way down the line into the 2020s here, with their, most recent and final record. So that'll be fun looking into that. And like I said, in the previous video, or I think I may have said it, my Iron Maiden concert memories video, that will be, I won't be doing a whole ranking. It's just 3 albums, right? So after I review that that third album, I'll just kind of, go and say this is my least favorite, second, and just kind of do a little mini ranking there of the 3 albums, right? So we'll get to stay tuned for that and kind of see where I stand on this. So anyways, guys, like I said, just like, subscribe, comment, and keep, some conversation going down there. I really want to hear if there's any other fans of this, kind of obscure piece out there. So would love to hear that from you guys. All right, like, subscribe, comment. Thanks.